everyone, it's Carrie Beach and welcome to the Traveling Pony YouTube now. I know, right? I have a podcast, I have a blog. What's one more thing if we're being honest? So I wanted to make a YouTube channel to kind of branch out and do some other things. It's an experiment. We are in my room currently. I probably should get a better mic for recording YouTube. So please bear with me in the sense that the audio might not be amazing. I just gotta figure it out. Like, as you can tell, my cat, Skitty, has joined us today, and my other cat, Regina's probably somewhere in the background, gonna create some problems. So yeah, welcome to my channel. My name's Carrie Beach. I run the Traveling Pony podcast and blog. We're still fairly new to podcast and blogging. I actually made the blog before I made the podcast, and the blog was just something I made because I used to write a ton of novels. I actually have published 2 novels and you can't find them, so don't ask me. I took them off of Amazon and everything to kind of do second edits. Thank you, Skitty. But the second edits never happened. I have been so busy. I had separate book covers, like I did the whole thing. It just didn't happen. I used to do that. I actually currently am in the works of completing oh gosh, I can't tell you how many novels I've actually written, but I am in the process of completing a I'd say adult high fantasy book. And I was so excited. I was like, I can write adult fantasy. There's 0 rules, like 0 rules. You know, you can write as violent, as spicy as you want. So I was so excited, and I decided to do 3 point of views because I wanted like Game of Thrones feeling. You're not gonna get that with young adults just because there's definitely some, you know, you can't go too out of the box. So I started doing the multiple point of views, and let me tell you, that's a whole nother monster. When I realized that the probably intense writing days were gonna have to dwindle down a little smidge, because another thing to realize is high fantasy adult, your word count is very different from young adults. Where young adults, 60 to 80,000 is kind of where you want to be. Adult novels, especially epic or high fantasy, you're looking at anywhere from 100 to 200,000 words. So those were some massive books. And let me tell you, my novel, I did the first draft of it. It's clocks out over 100,000, and I've been working my way through, and the size of it has already increased. And that's a lot to do all the time. So I kind of realized when the barn happened, I was like, you know, I don't have the energy every single day to sit down and write 5,000 to 10,000 words, really create these super complex stories in my brain and have, you know, 5 different characters, 5 different stories that I have to tell. It was a lot for me. So I was like, hey, you know what? Maybe I'll do a blog. Blog posts aren't that long. You know, they're pretty short, concise. Like, you don't want to be writing 5,000 words per blog post. You maybe want to write 1,000, 2,000 maybe, like nothing too crazy. So I was like, I can easily write that. On a good day, if I just sit down and my mind's working, I can write 15 to 20,000 words. So 1,000 words to me was like, I can do that as a warm up in 20 minutes, maybe even less. I've written some insane amount of numbers in a very short amount of time if I'm just like really focused on what I'm doing. I decided to create the blog, and I did some blog posting, a lot about Sloane's recovery, and then I decided, you know, maybe I want to try doing a podcast. I have done a lot of singing in the past. My singing's kind of dwindled, but I've done a lot of singing and I love singing, but it's something that also takes a lot of time and commitment, and wasn't really getting me anywhere in the sense like I wanted to find something that could kind of carry me on a little bit more. So I had all of the equipment though. And one thing I've always been told, and it's a little weird if you're online, but I've always been told that I have a pretty soothing voice for most people, or a pretty easy voice to listen to, which is why I decided to look at possibly pursuing a podcast. And that is when the Traveling Pony podcast section of it was born. So the Traveling Pony turned into the traveling podcast and blog. I've definitely given a little bit more importance to the podcast side of things because I'm one of those people that if you sit me down and you talk to me, I will literally talk for hours and not shut up. That is who I am. I created the podcast. The first couple episodes were just like me rambling on, and I was like, I want to see about maybe doing something with interviews. I want to see about maybe doing something a little bit more than just me rambling on for 30 minutes with no idea what I'm doing with my life. So I started doing the interviews. I have had a lot of fun with the interviews. I have talked to some amazing people that I would have never talked to before. And I've started, you know, just connecting with people that I was too afraid to talk to before, which has been a lot of fun for me. And I love talking to people. If it's somebody who wants to talk, I can talk for hours. So it seemed like the perfect thing for me. So I started doing the interviews. I'm still doing the interviews. And I started really focusing a lot on social media side of things. I'm not really technology savvy. If you've recorded a podcast episode with me, you know that. Sometimes it goes amazing. Other times me and technology have a very big disagreement and it takes me a while to actually record something. I decided that, you know, because I totally have so much extra time doing the barn, trying to run it, having my own horse, which granted Sloan has been off for a little bit, been off and on, so I've had more time in that per se. But, you know, doing the blog, doing the podcast, trying to push for all that, I was like, why not make a YouTube channel? Duh. Especially since I have been pushing a lot on TikTok recently. TikTok is not under the Traveling Pony, but I do post a lot of TikTok stuff on my Carrington Ridge page, and I'll post some Traveling Pony stuff, but that's just a lot of me like goofing around and like talking because I'm pretty certain I like to hear myself talk sometimes. But I have decided to create the Traveling Pony YouTube in hopes that I can show a little bit more behind the scenes stuff, kind of give some more insight on some things, and I'm gonna do some new projects. I have some fun things coming up soon. I am hoping that the Traveling Pony will be going to GHA finals and to do some press coverage, specifically on the night classes. I do have one client who will be showing, so I will 100% give priority to her, but I don't have anyone in the night classes, so I'm hoping to be able to do that. Get to kind of talk, maybe even watch like JD Pounds and stuff, and maybe be like, I don't know, commentating on some of them, just because I think it'd be really fun. Like most of these people, like I didn't have that opportunity and some other people might not get to go to some of these national horse shows and let alone win the class to have an opportunity to like be in front of a camera or have somebody ask some questions to do an interview for a blog or a podcast or something like that. So I always like that'd be a lot of fun. Hopefully the Traveling Pony will be there. And then hopefully next year I'll be doing a little bit of stuff for GHA. We're gonna see about it. We're gonna give it a whirl, kind of see where I go with it. Of course, Traveling Pony is having a YouTube now. And the other thing is I am trying to write a novel. This is gonna be different than any other novel I've written. Like I said before, I've only done young adult fantasy and adult fantasy. That's what I love. I love writing violent stuff. It is so weird if you know me, but violent horror, like psychological, that's just, it's all my thing. But I realize that not everyone might enjoy that. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna try and write a different novel. I'm going to try and write an equestrian novel, which I didn't even know was a thing. I saw some people I know posting that they had written kind of an equestrian novel, and I was like, this would be so easy. But I was like, this would be so easy. I looked up kind of what the average word is, or word count for a novel like that, and it was 60,000, and oh my gosh, like I could do 60,000 so fast if I wanted to. So I am working on producing an equestrian novel. It would be kind of like middle grade young adult type thing, focusing on somebody coming up the ranks, that type of stuff. I feel like it could be a lot of fun, especially for younger kids getting into writing, or maybe just people who want to read some maybe not so depressing dark stuff like I like to write. So I'm gonna try that. It will probably be a series. Oh gosh, I don't even know. I literally came up with that idea 3 days ago and I've written like 7,000 words into the story. So things are just kind of unfolding. I basically was like, here's the name of the character. Here's what I want to do in the end. Now I'll figure out how I get there throughout the story. And that's kind of what we're going on. This is the first video I just wanted to go over a little overview for people to kind of get to know me. And I don't know how much I'll be able to post. I can't promise everything. I hopefully will be doing the behind the scenes here, behind the scenes on creating the novel, and behind the scenes on creating the podcast, blog posts, and also hopefully some stuff with the barn too. So if you're wanting to kind of see some Carrington Bridge stuff, it will probably go on this channel. It's the thing with TikTok. Carrington Ridge and Traveling Pony have kind of merged there. Probably the same thing on here. It's just really difficult for me to manage so many different social media accounts. So that's probably how it will go. It will probably merge here. I'll probably do some writing stuff, some kind of horse stuff, like, you know, taking you around the stables, and hopefully, it sounds bad, but in my mind, hopefully doing this YouTube channel will also give me a little bit of content to go on the TikTok, and it will make my life a little bit easier in that regard. So, I will ask you the one question that I ask all the time on the podcast. And it's the most, you know, it's the question that everybody wants to know. Where will the Traveling Pony be next?